I don't know what else you want me to tell you. Are you not entertained? Zenless Zone Zero is the newest money printer installed into the offices of Chinese game company MiHoYo, or Hoyoverse now, I guess. Known for their other gacha games such as known for their other gacha games such as Honkai Star Rail and that one. So when I first heard that MiHoYo was putting another gacha game in the oven, I honestly did not care. I'm not a big gacha game guy, mostly because I find the entire monetization model to be nothing short of pure evil. I messed around with Genshin for a tiny bit, and Arknights was something I also got some enjoyment out for a bit, but after a short fling with both of those two, I declared myself cold turkey on the whole genre, because if there's one word that describes the gacha experience to me, it's disappointment. So, what in the hell possessed me to try out Zenless Zone Zero, which we're just going to be calling Z-Free from now on for convenience reasons? What caught my interest was the game's visual style, everything down to the character design and the environment design. It all had me thinking, damn, this game is kinda stylish looking. MiHoYo's other works, such as Genshin Impact, have always been hit or miss in the character design regard for me, while some of the designs in that game I think are actually really cool. There's also a lot of character designs that I think are just a little bland, or could be good but are held back by one thing or another, like Ito and Dea for example. Those two characters are meant to be these strong physical powerhouses, but both of them are built like a bundle of twigs. And there's also the matter of animations. Genshin characters tend to have some idle animations and stuff to convey some personality, but other than that, they all feel pretty samey in how they move around. Z-Free, however, is absolutely bursting at the seams with personality, and that's what drew me to it. These designs were all colourful and eye-catching while still making sense in universe, and the animation quality of not just the characters, but everything in this game is immaculate. It feels like the characters in this game actually have appropriate body types as well. The strong characters actually look big and have muscles. Finally! That being said, there is one body type this game likes a little too much. Why are there so many unsupervised children running around in this game? Insert some painfully predictable joke about MiHoYo fans here. But some good-ass character design is nothing if the gameplay itself isn't worthwhile and the story isn't fire. So, does Z-Free meet these parameters? Let's talk about it. So, the gameplay of Z-Free has you exploring weird pocket dimensions known as hollows, using your team of wacky character tropes, while the main character plays the role of proxy. This consists of two parts, dungeon crawling and combat. Dungeon crawling seems to be the more controversial of the two parts of the gameplay, so I'm gonna go over that first. My feelings can be summed up with, I like the dungeon crawling, but... Dungeon crawling consists of exploring a grid made of TV screens, reminds me a bit of Persona 4, where you'll be moving around and collecting treasure, solving puzzles, and running into enemy encounters. I think it's interesting to traverse the hollow this way, and the puzzles are pretty good too. I usually don't give credit to puzzles in games because I have a reputation to uphold as a professional amoeba, but these puzzles are tough enough to have me stop and think, but never got me to a point where I said, fuck it, I'm googling it. Some people seem to insist this is the boring part of the game, and while I don't mind it generally, it definitely has its issues, namely the pacing. The pacing of these segments really kill the flow of the gameplay. Most of the animations that play when you find a treasure chest or go to the next part of the dungeon feel like they go on just a little too long for me to be happy with it. But the real pace killer is the dialogue. In most games, I don't mind some mid-gameplay banter between the characters. It adds a lot of charm and it makes the game world feel less lonely. But my god, 90% of the dialogue in the dungeon crawling sections forces you to stop dead in your tracks until the characters finish yapping, and that is a major pace killer. It's weird, because in most of the dedicated cutscenes, the game does a good job of having the characters say what they need to and convey personality without having them yap for too long. But once you step into that hollow dungeon, why suddenly feels the need to stop me dead in my tracks to tell me the most obvious shit in the world? The poor pacing of these sections make what should otherwise be a nice breather between combat sections get pretty tedious, and I think for future missions, Hoyo should tone down the yapping and maybe speed up the animations. If they do this, these dungeon crawling segments could become a nice staple of Z-Free's gameplay. And while I also do want to clarify, by the way, there is a speed up button, I don't think it's particularly fast enough, and it also doesn't speed up the dialogue. Who knows though, maybe my attention span has just rotted over the years. So how about that combat then? Well... yeah, it's pretty good. Using a party of free characters, you have the simple task of deleting anything that's not one of your free party members off of this plane of existence, using your arsenal of basic attacks, special attacks, EX attacks, chain attacks, Xenoblade mentioned, and ultimate attacks. You'll be creating combos by switching between your free characters, almost like switching between Dante's weapons in a Devil May Cry game, and using your character's signature status effects such as burn, freeze, shock, stun, and more. Ayo buddy, I don't think that's an OSHA regulation, you might want to stop! In terms of defensive options, you've got a dodge and a parry. The dodge works how you'd expect it to, and it also includes a Bayonetta-style witch time mechanic which can be useful for getting into ideal positioning among other things. But the parry is very unique, because how you parry is by switching characters right as you're about to get hit. And I gotta say, the animation of your next character jumping in to save your current one never stopped generating dopamine in my head. It's such a cool parry animation. It also prevented me from kinda just tunnel visioning one character in my party, which, if not for this mechanic, I absolutely would have done because I have severe brain damage from years of bike crashes and drinking bottles of Tipex. I do want to address the complaints I've heard about the difficulty of this game, more specifically that it's too easy. Now, this might just be a me thing, but game difficulty has never been a big factor in my enjoyment of a game. I tend to be able to enjoy a game even if it's a simple cakewalk, or if it's testicle jackhammeringly hard. As long as the gameplay loop is interesting, I'm a happy camper. But this game does start brain dead easy, with most enemy attacks barely scratching you. But as you progress further, you'll find the game has some interesting challenges for you to face if you go and look for them. Yes, more challenges than finding the will to live after losing a 50-50. There's several side modes, such as a mini roguelike mode and some boss raids, and that's generally where you're going to find the challenge in this game beyond just the hard mode versions of the story missions you can do. Speaking of the hard mode missions, I like them, but I also don't. If your two complaints with the game are, it's too easy, and I don't like the dungeon crawling, the hard mode missions only make you play the combat sections of the mission, so feel free to get your challenge here, or piss off back to Elden Ring. That reminds me, I should probably play Shadow of the Erdtree at some point. I do have vexations with the reward aspect of hard mode, though. You don't get any account EXP for beating them, and the amount of polychrome, that's your summon material by the way, you get isn't any more than what you'd get from the normal version of the mission. But it's a gacha game, so every bit of summon material counts, so you're gonna S-rank them all anyway. Do you see why I usually avoid this genre? I had a lot of fun experimenting with the playable characters though and what they could do, some even having some unique gimmicks such as Ambi having a delayed combo, Soldier 11 having DMC Nero style based timing attacks, Piper being a fucking Beyblade, and Kaleda having an alternate moveset if you throw in her in a team with Freddy Fazbear. The game is also quite generous when it comes to giving you trial periods with the characters. There will be at least one story mission where you'll get to try out a character you don't have, and while it sucks that you can't replay those missions, or you can but you're forced to use your own team, it's better than nothing. Hey, Editor Ramen here. I was wrong about this, you can actually replay these missions. Oopsie. Bear in mind you'll also have to kit your character out with equipment and upgrade their stats, and this is where the dreaded grind comes in. This game has one of my most hated tropes of the gacha genre, being stamina, and while thankfully story missions consume no such thing, missions that allow you to grind for character resources will eat up stamina so damn fast. And like Genshin, the game has a tendency to gate your story progress until you have enough social credit score, so in between story chapters, your options for progression start to get a little limited. During downtime though, you have a small hub map to explore which is home to various vendors and side quests, and while you start off small, more areas are open to explore as you progress through the story, just don't expect a big open world like Genshin. Why does this dude have the fucking Heihachi Mishima cut? So yeah, the gameplay loop is pretty simple. Explore some dungeons, fight some dudes, walk around town, go gambling, and then end the day with some TikTok brain rot content. Quite the life. So I'm not going to spend too long talking about the gacha system because it's not very interesting, but I figured if I didn't talk about it, someone would ask. Okay, so let's see here. So, like Genshin, there are two different currencies, one for the event banner and one for the standard banner. Alright, Zenless, that's strike one. There's a weapon banner, but weapons still show up in other banners. Strike two. And some characters can be vaulted behind event banners, creating FOMO, so you're out! So I just want to bring up, I was taking a break from writing the script by playing the game, and I pulled Ellen. I'm still not taking back my criticisms of the gacha system, Mahoya. Okay, but to give this system what little crumbs of credit it deserves, I like how after 300 standard banner pulls, the game lets you pick any non-event 5-star for free. That's a pretty generous feature. It also prevents the standard banner from being completely useless for the most part, and I'm pretty sure it's impossible to pull S-rank weapons on the event banner, which is nice to guarantee yourself an S-rank character and not a weapon. But like, do you need all this? A battle pass? And a subscription service for bonus polychrome, Hoyo? Do you really need all of that? None of it contains stuff you can't get by otherwise playing the game normally, but paying for all this will give you a significant leg up. I mean, I guess I'm not too annoyed about it because I expected this level of slime from a gacha game, but it'd be irresponsible of me not to verbally reprimand it. But this is an action RPG, and RPGs usually come with a narrative focus, so how's that story? Well, you see, Z3 takes my favorite choice in storytelling tone, which is goofy but earnest. The characters and world are very goofy and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but the characters do have genuine moments of development and growth that makes it easy to get invested in the story. The story is set in the retro-futurist city of New Eridu, where mysterious dimensional rifts known as hollows are appearing and consuming parts of the city. We play as either Belle or Wise, depending on the player's choice, and it's worth noting that the one you don't pick still sticks around as your sidekick, which is a nice touch. These two together are the legendary proxy known as Faithin, and as a proxy, it is our job to navigate a team of agents through the hollows and to explore them and clean out the monsters known as ethereals, amongst other such tasks. It's worth pointing out, though, that we aren't doing this legally. There is government-assigned groups to explore hollows, and what we're doing is sort of an undercover third-party deal who can take care of jobs in the hollow that the officials will not. Essentially, this is a Persona plot where the protagonist is the navigator rather than the wildcard, which is a fun idea conceptually. And like the Persona games, investment in the characters is what's going to make or break the plot for you. Me personally, it didn't take much for this game's characters to stick themselves to me. Some of my favorites include Billy, Sokaku, Belle, and the entire Belobog crew. Like, all four of them. Chapter 2 was the dictionary definition of absolute cinema, and the Belobog crew are just really good characters. Like, yeah, your favorite agent may be the meta and all that fancy stuff, but are they forklift certified? Because the thing with this game's story is it's not really some big, epic narrative for the ages or anything, but its moment-to-moment writing is really good. When it wants to be funny or charming, it's good at being funny and charming.
I saw someone yesterday insisting the character on their phone was their wife.
What did you say about my wife?
When it wants to get a bit emotional, it's good at being emotional. It's good at keeping itself consistent, and the characters have endearing writing and great development. The story presentation is a bit wibbly-wobbly. Like Persona, again, this game has a lot of different cutscene styles. Most cutscenes are presented as a basic talking head scene, which I understand why. It's a dialogue-heavy game and not every cutscene can exactly carry battle shonen budget, but when the cutscenes have effort put into them, they are really good. There are these stylized comic book cutscenes that look really great, and then in a rare occasion you get a fully animated cutscene, and they are really well animated. I can't state that enough. The animation budget on this game must have gone absolutely crazy. I can't show much of these cutscenes without spoilers, but if you've seen the roughly 8 quintillion ads this game has plagued your YouTube feed with, you've seen how fluid the animation is. Even some of the character side quests get fully animated cutscenes sometimes, which, oh yeah, those are a thing. Some characters have little side quests you can do, starting off with one following Soldier 11. They even come with these custom movie covers. These are so cute! I don't know why you access them by going into the same menu you usually go to rewatch old cutscenes, but yeah, okay, sure thing. Heoverse. And that segues us into the game's final notable mechanic, trust events. Yeah, it takes you a long time to unlock this feature, which is kind of annoying, but it's the final nail in the Persona inspiration coffin for me. I know it used to be like a, a haha funny meme to say, hey, this game gives me Persona vibes whenever an urban fantasy RPG would be brought up, but I really mean it this time. You see, eventually you unlock the ability to invite your agents to hang out so you can increase your trust level with them. It's surprisingly immersive because you have to go out of your way to message them and schedule a meeting time. Then, when you arrive at the location and time you scheduled, you can go through a couple lines of dialogue and make choices that will either raise or decrease the trust level. It's not the most elaborate or earth-shattering feature in the game, but getting some extra dialogue out of your favorite characters is always a plus for me. It's just a shame that in the current version of the game, not everyone can be hung out with. Namely, the Sons of Caledon faction, as there isn't any story content for them to be unlocked with yet, but as the game sees more updates, they'll probably be added, and it's something we're definitely going to see more of. So in conclusion, Zenless Zone Zero is a surprisingly high-effort product, being sort of a weird gacha action RPG version of Persona with a lot of personality and charm. It is held back by weird gameplay pacing and the usual gacha game smegma, but as for someone who usually avoids the gacha genre like the plague, I was pleasantly surprised by my gameplay experience here. I do ask that if you check it out though, you play responsibly. It's no secret that gacha games are the weeb equivalent of casinos, and like with casinos or anything addictive, it should be consumed in moderation and in the right state of mind. Your mental health and economic well-being are more important than whatever virtual anime characters the game throws at you, okay? Unless you're after from someone from Bellabog Industries, in which case it is your God-given duty to wail. Glory to Bellabog Industries and the power of smart construction machinery!